The Archimedes rose and fell against the horizon like a promise kept in steel.
It sat anchored above coordinates that cost 3 years and $17 million to pinpoint.
Marcus Reeves, veteran of 43 recoveries, studied the water that descended through the ship's heart.
Three years of research led here. The target, the SS Forturiel, lost in 19...
The mechanical winch operator, Sarah Chen, initiated the launch sequence. Reeves and his co-pilot, Dr. Elena Vasquez, sealed themselves into the pressure vessel.
The interior smelled of human presence in confined quarters. Reeves's hands found the controls by muscle memory.
They flooded the ballast tanks. The submersible began her descent into the abyss.
The viewport darkened almost immediately. Surface light surrendered to deeper blues, then to shades without names.
They passed through the thermocline, into water that had not known warmth since the last ice age.
At 300 meters, bioluminescence began its sporadic fireworks in the permanent night.
They descended through water that circulated on timescales measured in centuries. The weight of the entire ocean pressed against the hull. A sperm whale's clicks echoed through the hull, distant and alien, a sound transformed by the deep. At 2,000 meters, the sonar began detecting the bottom. The abyssal plain lay somewhere below. Reeves slowed their descent. The pressure now exceeded 200 atmospheres. A leak would be catastrophic.
To untrained eyes, nothing. But she saw the subtle signs, a mounding that traced a line beneath the sediment.
The probe painted a ghost image, the unmistakable profile of a ship's hull. They had found the Fortuna Reel.
The next phase required surgical precision. Excavation began with frustrating slowness. Gradually, the ship revealed herself. Corrosion and deep-sea coral marked the passage of a century.
They worked in concert, movements synchronized through long practice. Hours dissolved in the timeless dark.
There, gleaming with adamantine fire, lay the scattered cargo. A treasure beyond calculation.
The sight held them silent. They stood at the intersection of history, geology, and human ambition. Appreciation would come later. Now, the practical challenge, recovery. They deployed a cargo net. The work required meditation-like focus. Each movement was deliberate, each action double-checked.
Larger stones required both arms working in concert. Smaller fragments demanded even more precision. Hours passed. When they had collected what they could carry, they attached the recovery line to the surface.
The encoded message traveled through 3 kilometers of water to the Archimedes above.
On the surface, Chen engaged the winch system. The recovery line took up the weight.
The diamonds began their long journey to the surface and light, leaving the abyssal plain behind.
The night's labor was finally rewarded. A king's ransom, brought up from the deep.
They used the hours of the lift to document the wreck, mapping for future recovery operations.
The first is secured.
The process repeated. Excavation, collection, securing. A second lift was prepared.
Then, a third lift. And finally, a fourth, containing the last diamonds and items of historical significance.
They recovered artifacts,
The ship's bell, brass fittings, fragments of history.
By the final lift, the Thalassa's batteries had depleted to their safe minimum. Reeves purged the ballast tanks. The Thalassa began her ascent from the abyssal plain.
The ascent would take over 2 hours. A slow return from the crushing dark to the world of light.
Darkness gave way to deep blue, then lighter navy, as they rose through the ocean's layers.
They entered the epipelagic zone, where sunlight once again became more than a myth.
The surface burst upon them with startling brightness. Waves, wind, and light after hours in the permanent night.
The Archimedes appeared on the horizon, a massive silhouette of home and success.
The surface support team guided the Thalassa home. Chen operated the recovery crane with surgical precision.
The submersible settled into her berth. Inside, Reeves initiated the hatch unlocking sequence.
They emerged into late afternoon light that seemed impossibly bright. The ocean's smell flooded in, perfume after recycled air.
But all attention soon focused aft, where the cargo nets rested.
The diamonds lay heaped in the nets like strange fruit, unimpressive to untrained eyes.
The cleaning process began immediately. Gentle agitation in seawater dissolved the century of sediment.
Hours passed as the sun descended. They worked, driven by the need to see what they had retrieved.
Marine growth proved stubborn. It required individual attention, careful work with soft brushes.
She placed it under the lights. The stone transformed into captured fire, throwing spectrum shards into the dark. More stones followed, some perfect, some broken, a few with rare coloration from trace elements deep in the earth.
A cataloging system tracked each stone. A preliminary assessment suggested they had exceeded their estimate.
They worked through the night. The monetary value held less meaning than the achievement itself.
As dawn approached, they cleaned the final stone from the last net. They stood witness, united in the profound awareness of what they had accomplished together.
The moment stretched, suspended between night and day, between the abyss and the surface world.
The sun broke the horizon. Golden light flooded across the recovery deck.
Their brilliance was a testament to the power of human will to pierce the darkness and retrieve what was thought forever lost.
Dawn arrived with ceremony this time, a brilliant celebration over the featureless expanse.
The spell held. The diamonds threw back the sun's fire, a silent conversation between Earth's deepest secrets and the morning sky.
It was Reeves who broke the silence, not with words, but with a gesture of shared, weary triumph.
The tension released. The crew stirred, the monumental moment giving way to human exhaustion and relief.
Vasquez began her assessment, not as treasure, but as a geologist bearing witness to recovered time. Each stone was a record of the mantle's heat and pressure, now resting under a different kind of sky.
For Chen, it was about precision rewarded. The perfect operation, executed. The stone was proof. Kowalski, the gemologist, saw beauty first, the potential in the rough, the masterpieces waiting inside each crystal.
The moment of wonder gave way to procedure. The stones had to be secured, cataloged, and protected.
Each stone was accounted for, its journey from the abyssal plane now tracked in a digital log.
But the mission wasn't over. The Fortuna reel still held more below, and the Archimedes was still on station.
In the mess, over coffee that had gone cold, the core team allowed themselves to feel it.
We did it.
The sediment data alone, it's pristine. A century of abyssal deposition recorded around that hull.
The winch loads were textbook. Not a single spike in the tension monitors on any of the lifts.
The clarity. Reeves, some of those stones are flawless. The size distribution is better than the manifest promised.
Rest would wait. Vasquez returned to the lab to begin unpacking the deep's other gifts.
The deck was cleansed. The visible evidence of the dive was washed away, back to the sea.
For the leader, the clean deck was a blank page. The recovery was a fact. Now came the responsibility.
The sea was calm. They had time.
He studied the map. The wreck was now a known entity. Future dives could be planned with even greater precision.
There were still secrets down there. Another compartment, untouched. More history to recover.
According to these readings, the anomaly is destabilizing faster than anticipated. We have a narrow window to initiate the second phase before the jump drive collapses.
As sunset painted the sky, the crew allowed themselves to unwind. The tension of the dive had finally dissipated.
Vasquez joined them, leaving her data for the deeper data of the ocean's evening display.
This surface, this light, felt like a different planet compared to the crushing, lightless plain below.
Night fell. The ship became an island of light and warmth in the vast, cool dark of the open ocean.
In the quiet of her cabin, Reeves confronted history. The bell would never ring again, but it spoke volumes.
This small, broken thing had seen both the sky of men and the night of the abyss. Now it saw stars again.
The next day began with routine. Success required maintenance. The Thalassa was prepared for her next descent. Every joint, every seal, every circuit was checked. The abyss forgave no weakness, no oversight.
The world beyond the horizon needed to know. The financial and scientific reports began their journey.
The Q3 projections are finalized. We exceeded targets by 15%, primarily driven by the efficiency gains in the European market.
The moment of private relief was brief. A leader's work was never done, only transformed by success.
Remember, this requires precision, not speed. Steady on the controls, now ease it down slowly. Well done.
They studied the footage from the dive, each frame a lesson in patience and precision under pressure.
Estella Vladislavovaya. Audio features the sound of a woman speaking enthusiastically, delivering a lecture. This is accompanied by
the ocean offered its blessings. A pod of dolphins, creatures of light and air, escorted them for a time.
In the lab, the forensic work began. Each diamondal's inclusions told a story of its African origin.
The ship kept its vigil. Below, the wreck continued its slow dissolution. Above, the moon kept its ancient watch.
Even in sleep, the mission continued. The next dive was already taking shape in his mind. His resolve solidified. To recover was to remember. To bring things into the light was to honor the lost.
3 days after the first triumph, they gathered again. The mission's second phase, exploration.
The plan is methodical. Survey, document, and recover artifacts only if safe. The goal was not more diamonds, but understanding.
The Thalassa returned to her element. The journey into the dark was a known path this time.
Inside the sphere, the routine was comforting. They were returning to a place they now knew.
Ready to go back down?
It's starting to feel like a commute.
Wait.
They began the commute into infinity.
The descent was a variation on a theme. The same darkness, but with new details in the symphony of the deep.
They navigated not by hope, but by memory. The abyssal plane was no longer terra incognita.
Their target was there, a sealed door, likely to the captain's quarters, or a secure locker. Mystery behind metal.
This was not excavation. This was archaeology. The aim was entry with minimal disturbance.
Reeves became a statue at the controls. His hands were the only thing holding history still for examination.
The door gave way. A century of stillness was broken as their light invaded a private darkness. The sediment settled. They found not treasure, but an East Asian captain, still at his post, guarding his ship to the last.
My God.
Document everything. We won't disturb him.
Reeves's command was gentle. Some things, they decided, should remain where they fell.
They would take only images. The captain's final moments would be recorded, studied, and honored, but not looted.
But there was one artifact they would recover. A logbook. The ship's final story, written in fading ink.
The manipulator, guided by a young adult black woman Vasquez's steady hand, lifted the book as if it were a sleeping bird.
It was sealed in a protective case, a capsule within a capsule, for its journey to the surface.
They had taken treasure, and now a story. They left with a heavier, more complicated understanding.
The ascent began. The light of the surface called them back from this encounter with mortality.
They surfaced not with triumph, but with solemnity. The recovery team's greetings were muted.
The logbook was the new treasure. In the lab, they prepared to open a window to 1911.
The story unfolded in ink. The storm rising, the ship fighting, the fear entering the record.
Reeves stood vigil with the bell. The treasure was secured below. The story was now known.
He chose preservation over burial. The artifact would speak for those who could not.
The mission's active phase was ending. The Archimedes would soon turn for home.
The crew's bond was forged in pressure and tempered by respect. They had touched something larger than wealth.
It's the same pattern down there, the living stars.
The stars above, the living stars below. Two expressions of the same vast, mysterious universe.
With the new dawn, the Archimedes began her long voyage back to the world of land and consequence.
The treasure was secure. Its journey from mantle to abyss to human hands was nearly complete.
Reeves compiled the official record. The personal mementos on his desk told the truer, quieter story. The final sunset on the expedition found them in a state of peaceful exhaustion. The covenant with the deep was fulfilled.
We'll be back. Vasquez stated the truth they all felt. This was not an end, but an intermission. The abyss called.
Reeves' smile was answer enough. The leader was already thinking of the next coordinates, the next challenge.
The ship turned toward the lights of home, leaving the eternal dark behind, for now.
The world of steel and stone felt strange underfoot. The constant motion of the sea was now a memory in their muscles.
The transition was abrupt, from scientific wonder to high-security logistics in a matter of hours.
For Reeves, the mission ended here. The treasure ceased to be a discovery and became an asset.
The final thud of the truck door was the period at the end of the sentence. Their work was physically gone.
Handshakes and envelopes. The commercial loop was closed. The backers had their return on investment.
The real work, he remembered, was just beginning. The data would live far longer than the diamonds.
He walked away without a backward glance. A captain leaves his ship, knowing another voyage always calls.
She showed them the captain, not as spectacle, but as evidence of a human story written in the deep's archive.
The logbook found its home. Its final, unfinished sentence now spoke to the public. A voice from the abyss. The stones began their new life. Cut, polished, transformed from geological record to objects of beauty and value.
The latent fire within the carbon lattice was now fully unleashed. A different kind of revelation.
Reeves found his decompression not in a chamber, but in the silence of mountains, in the rhythm of water of a different kind. The next coordinates arrived, as he knew they would. The abyss was patient, but so was he. He had time.
The expedition rippled outward, in luxury, in education, in technology, in memory. The deep had